Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Fractured Not Broken, the Relationship Wellness Podcast. It is your guy, Coach Reg, relationship expert and author, and now newly minted podcast host. How cool is that? But anyway, no, we won't do that. But no, really, I am super excited. We have one weekend now, and things are going really well. Thank you guys for the feedback and the response. Just excited about this time, what we're able to do in the space, what we want to bring to you as a podcast. And I am super excited to have a good friend with me today, who is my guest. I'll introduce in a moment, but I just want to just say thank you all, right, for what we've done thus far and what we will do ultimately. This is a really good opportunity, and I just want to thank you all for supporting it. So yeah, without further ado, my guest today, I've known for about, 5-6 years. Super good guy. He is a divorcee, 2 teenage children. He's a professional, stable career, wicked sense of humor, and all around good guy. How did I do, Bert? Yeah, anyways.
Sounds good to me.
So yes, without further ado, help me introduce and help me welcome, I should say, my good friend, Mr. Bert Mckeithen. Welcome, Bert, to the pod. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for saying yes, sir. Thank you for saying I appreciate it.
Hope you don't regret it after.
No, right? No, I think it's going to be fun, my man. I think it's going to be just fine. You know, I mentioned in the introduction that I'm very excited to have this conversation because, you know, some of the things that you had shared about in your guest request form there were 2 questions that were really interesting to me. And do you remember what they were? I'll tell you if they weren't, if you don't. But do you recall what one of them was? The first one we want to get into?
Maintenance, relationship maintenance.
Yeah.
And, do friendships, really I was talking friendships, require maintenance. And what does that maintenance look like? Or what actions equal maintenance? And I was asking that because I'm terrible at it.
Okay.
I'm terrible. I'm the friend that just doesn't reach out. And it's not that I don't value the friendship.
Sure.
It's just, life's going on, between the job, the kids, extracurricular activities, and then just needing some time, peace of mind or whatever. I neglect those friendships, and I don't only realize it when somebody calls me.
Got you.
And I'm like, it's been months since I talked to this person, and the last time I talked to them, they were reaching out to me. You know what I mean? So, and that's across the board with everybody, and that's almost all friendships. And then, when we start talking about dating, it's a similar thing,
right?
Where that's much more problematic because the cut cards for that,
it's not.
You don't call in a couple of days, like that's done. Yeah. Right. So, not too worried there,
sure.
But because it's dating, it's a rotating
for
thing.
sure.
But friendships,
are
hard to come by. And you have genuine people, and then I start to value them even more when they recognize that I hardly ever reach out, yet they still check on me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out. Or get some cheat codes.
That's fair. That's fair, and we'll come back to that dating thing because that's a real thing too. I want to ask you some questions around it. But as it relates to maintenance of friendships and those kinds of things, first of all, kudos to you for that's called self-awareness, right? And it's also what you're speaking to as it relates to emotional intelligence. You're aware that you're not as responsive as you would like to be because you recognize that persons that reach out to you. You haven't reciprocated as much as you like.
Right.
That's the relationship management thing, right? That's another attribute of EQ. And so, again, good on you for even wanting to do that and not feeling like, well, I get around to it or it's not important or what have you. So I think that's important. Like you said, not that you don't value, it's just like how do I become better? So maybe a way to do that is like, first of all, identify those people. If it's 2, 3, 4, 5, however many it may be. And kind of like literally create a calendar invite, or a reminder. We do it for everything else, right? And flag it like, you know what? on this day I want to reach out, and you kind of set aside time within a month or whatever, however frequently you want to do it, I'm going to reach out to my friends. If it's a text message or whatever, hey, thinking about you. It's great for birthdays because that's people that I reach out to that I haven't spoken to in years, not because we're angry with one another. It's just because our lives are in different spaces, but they're still in my thoughts, much like your friends are with you. And invariably, I get a notification on my phone. It's so-and-so's birthday. They're like, oh, my God, you remembered. I'm like, yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? So, but, yeah, that may be a way to.
Reminders. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a way to do it. But it's a conscious thing that we do. But again, I think it's great that you want to, and because people want to be thought of. You know, I say it this way: there's, you know, when people who reach out to me who I may not have heard from in a while, or at all, I thank them for reaching out. And what I tell them specifically is, I don't just thank them for reaching out. I thank them for executing the thought. See, because how many times have you spoken to someone and they say, oh, I was just thinking about you. But did they execute?
Right.
You see, because you wouldn't have known had they not executed, right?
And that's me. I'm forever. I was just thinking about you. You get the look from some folks. No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
It's like, are you believable? Yes. But yeah, it really is a thing. We, you know, and again, I thank them for executing. And so if we are better at executing, regardless of the thing, if it's a friendship, like you said about the maintenance, how do we maintain? I think another way that could be helpful is to really kind of, when you check in with folks, it's not checking in to check the box. It's actually asking about something that's important to them. You know, what's going on with you? What's been going on? And so when you reach out, you know, those calendar invites, right? Those are reminders. Then you can follow up. Hey, remember last time we talked, how's that going?
See, I think that's the key. Because that's what I'm missing. Okay. Because I've done the, you know, reminder thing.
Sure.
Not with my friends, but I've done that on the dating scene.
We're gonna get there, Bert. We'll get there.
So I have the reminder, like, make sure you call. You know, right. it just rings, and then I know that bell is at this time. Let's call or whatever. But for friends, you know, there will be some, you know, something that will remind me. I may see a post somewhere or something. I'm like, I need to talk to them.
Right.
And you know, if I call, then I get into the small talk. I hate small talk. Yeah. Or I just don't take the conversation to that next level. So that's the key, is to, you know, kind of, I guess, remember what's going on.
Yeah.
Ask them about something that's relevant.
That they care about. And see, here's the thing, right? You know, earlier you talked about valuing friends. Well, you have the words of valuing, but then now you accompany that with the action, right? Because now not only do I value you, I'm showing you that. I'm demonstrating it by asking you, A, what's important to you? What's the timeline on that thing? If there's something you need some support on, how can I help you? Whatever that may look like, or whatever they may need. It's not checking boxes. And please, I'm not suggesting do anything that you don't want to do. Let me be very clear, folks. I'm saying if
I've
it's
done that. I'm done. I'm done with that.
Right. Because sometimes we do things because, and this is a subtlety, which is why I want to kind of put a pin here for a moment, where we do things because it's what we think we should do, or we believe that's what someone expects, but it may be completely contrary to what you actually want to do. And so you have to decide which makes sense for you. What makes sense for you in that moment? Do I give into what I think people are perceiving I should do, or am I going to honor my truth and not do it? Because there is no right or wrong answer. The answer is the answer. The answer is what you choose to do, right? So, yeah. And again, because you're talking about people we value. So that shared, you understand that we're not talking about random people. We're talking about persons that matter to you, right? So, yeah. So maintenance, those are a couple ways, right? The reminder with the calendar, you know, asking about something that's important to them, how you can support them in that. Yeah, I think that's a good start, because it's not a list necessarily as much as it is, these are things you can do, because it's not a script, because you don't know how the person's going to respond. And so it's not, they're going to say this, I'm going to say that, or they're going to say this, I'm going to say that. It's more of, based on what they say, I will allow what they share to inform my response, reaction, and or question. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you sounds like you're itching to get to this old dating thing, sir. Talk to me about that. What's it like in these streets? I hear horror stories. And I love this because here we have a man who's dating. You're actively dating. Is that correct? Is that correct?
A little bit here.
A little bit.
Not,
yeah. So what does that look like? And what are you seeing? Are you seeing things that are encouraging? Are you seeing things that are frustrating? What's been your experience?
I know there's a lot out on, social media, a lot of different conversations going on. A lot of those don't really align with what I'm experiencing.
Oh, okay.
I'm meeting good people, good women.
Sure.
I think I'm just in a different place in life and sort of just starting to recognize that. Mm-hmm. Like there was one point, I think soon after divorce, I was looking to meet someone that I could, be with, get remarried, mm-hmm. and raise a family.
Sure. Kind
of expected her to have kids also, maybe, or wanted to start a family if she didn't have any. Sure. That was mid 30s. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm mid to late 40s now.
Right.
Kids are grown.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to, find a partnership and build this, empire.
Sure.
I'm focusing on enjoying life.
So you want to share your life with someone.
The grind part of it is
okay.
Not as attractive anymore. I'm like,
okay. That's fair.
I want to start to slow down a little bit and enjoy. Like, what are we grinding for?
Okay.
So I'm not meeting. I'm meeting a lot of very professional women.
Yes.
That are about their careers.
Sure.
And I'm a federal employee.
Mm-hmm.
I like my job.
Sure.
It supports my lifestyle. My kids are well. I have futures set, but I don't describe myself as my job.
Right. It doesn't define
what I mean?
you.
Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I just, that's not, on the flip side, I will grind.
Mm-hmm.
I have always been willing to and did what I needed to do to
sure.
make sure kids were provided for. They have a great education. Their, college is it's not paid for, but
yeah, you're en route.
It's on its way. I'm thinking
for
about
sure.
those kinds of things.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
For
and
sure.
if anything happens to me, they're secured.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, I guess, financially minded in that sense, as far as taking care of
mm-hmm.
and willing to grind. But I'm not this grinder.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm a father. I'm a son.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somebody interested in music. I
mm-hmm.
love to DJ. And I'm passionate about a lot of things. And I don't meet people that have their own passions outside of, they're passionate about progressing in their careers.
I see. So they're still grinding, is what you're saying. Does that seem to be most important to them? Is that what you mean?
I don't think it's just that they're grinding. It's that their career is first.
Mm.
And then they're also trying to build like a certain image, like a certain lifestyle that they want, and that's their focus beyond anything. And so their interest in me is kind of focused on how well I fit into the picture of the life they're trying to build.
Got you. So you're interested in partnership with the right person.
I'm interested in having somebody that's going to be with me to go on vacation.
Okay.
And
is that partnership, companionship? Is that companionship? Which is it?
Companionship.
Okay, not a part. So you're not
companionship. I'm not looking for a business buddy.
Okay, gotcha.
Business partner.
Well, that's what I mean. When I say partnership, correct. I mean, okay, so when I say partnership, I mean like a relationship. A committed relationship is you want that or you don't?
I do want that.
Got you. But you begin with companionship to determine if that's what we could become or what you two could become.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. And so let me ask you a question. When you meet women, the professional women you're meeting,
mm-hmm.
do the conversations go that way? Like not so much, not an interview, but just asking questions around, what is it that they are looking for, not with you, just for their lives. Because then it becomes, because those are mutually exclusive. They're not conflated, right? So you can desire what you desire, and the hope is to meet someone who aligns with those desires as you do with theirs.
Right.
Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
So your experience is not that, where it's like you said, they want you to fit into their thing versus asking you what's your thing and how our things could possibly link or become aligned if we were to not partner, but if we were to hang out and kind of get to know each other. Because that's where it starts. It's less, I can say what I want, and you can say what you want, right? Or person, let me just do it this way. Two people can say what they want, but that doesn't mean, and they may sound aligned, but then as you get to know the person, you realize the person is not a fit. Personalities don't mesh. Because again, it's not, you can't conflate it all, because you have to look at the individual first, because who you are is not what you are. I want these things, but that's not who I am. And who you are ties more back to your values, your morals, you know, what's important to you, what matters to you. And so my question is, do you have those? Are you having those, or do you know of people having those types of conversations when they're meeting and dating?
Usually the conversations, I don't like to tell people what I'm looking for, what I want.
Okay.
I kind of just, dating is that one area where, I do the small talk and then we dive into whatever area they seem to focus in on.
Okay.
And what they focus in on tells me what their priorities are.
Okay.
And then once you get to a point where you're just, talking to somebody every day or every other day, and you're having ongoing conversations about a particular topic.
Sure.
And the situations I'm talking about is usually not just what happened during their day. That's one thing. We all spend 8 hours a day at work, or most of our time at work. It's not a surprise that work comes up as a topic, right?
Sure.
But that topic usually I think would be, for me, is what went on today. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to have repetitive conversations about, well, where's my career going? What am I planning to do next? You're not going to hear that several times a week.
Sure.
And I think with it's not even with the conversations I'm having with some women that are professionally minded, that is their focus on, so what are they going to do next?
Okay.
Professionally.
Sure.
And it's just it doesn't interest me.
Got it. So let me ask you a question. When you have those experiences, those conversations, do you ask questions, or you kind of check out? Like, this is not going to work. Like me, when I'm saying asking questions, not about what they're talking about, but asking a question about something else. So apart from that, what are you interested in? What's important? Because
change the subject.
Yeah, but it's how you do it, right? Because we don't want to be rude or offensive, but you already recognize that job, professional career trajectory. We've talked about that. I understand where you are with it, but tell me who you are. What hobbies? What interests you? What matters to you? Those kinds of things.
I do.
Okay.
I do, and I enjoy hearing just people in general talk about almost anything that they're passionate about.
Sure.
Especially if it's something I wasn't into, and then someone's passion. That's like going back just to grade school. Those teachers that were passionate about the subjects they were teaching, all of a sudden those subjects became interesting subjects.
Right.
It's really their passion. So it's the same thing with people, and talking to women that are passionate about what they do is different than talking to someone that is in a career because they felt like they could make a good living in it, but they have no passion about it.
Yeah.
And so now they're talking about this subject that's important to their career growth or their bottom line as far as earning money, but there's no passion behind it.
Okay.
So I don't want to confuse the two, because that is different.
Right.
And I love hearing women talk about, I guess, their own personal business and what they're doing, to drive their personal business.
Right.
But it is just really the someone that has a job similar to mine, or a career where you're working for somebody, and that's all you talk about.
Gotcha.
is how you're going to get to the next level in that career. And I'm like, okay, cool, we're all working for that, but we have, that's what we do, 9 to 5. Like, what else is going on?
Right. So I guess what you're saying is getting to that. What else is more than a notion? It sounds like in a conversation. In some
instances, that's what I'm experiencing.
Do the women that you converse with, do they ask you about you?
Yeah.
Okay. And
all the time.
Oh, you said all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does that mean?
I mean, I think it's wise for women to get a sense of who they're talking to.
Yeah.
So they try to figure out just a little bit about my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of moral values do I have?
Sure.
And your upbringing can kind of clue you into that.
Sure.
Get a sense of do you talk to your mother?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Did you know your father?
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, they're still together. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's great.
Right.
And your siblings, so they want to know about those family relationships and how you are with your family. Your kids, do you take care of your kids?
Sure.
Are you in their lives? That
Come
kind
on,
of thing.
come on.
But then, they want to know, well, what do you like to do?
Right.
And so
Right.
I start talking about things I'm passionate about.
Right.
And, of course, music
Sure.
is always one of those. And so, yeah, they want to know who I am. And,
Yeah.
and eventually, one way or another, whether it be just asking outright, which I think is the way to go, like, or they either eventually end up coming to your house, like, how are you handling your business financially? Like, are you, okay place? Are you healthy?
Right.
Spot?
Right.
So they want to, figure out those things.
That's very interesting. And it's funny. And as I listen to it, I'm gonna tell you the image I had in my mind. They want to know, but they're asking because for their own reasons. It doesn't sound like, because I can imagine, like, because the things you ask about are things that matter to some women. Your family, if you have children, what's your relationship with your kids? Because they're like, well, if I'm a big family person, that matters to me. Would you fit into that? I want to understand where you are. It's like an assessment almost. They ask questions to assess, and that's fine because you do want to know those things. But that has nothing to do with who Bert is.
Right.
That's what Bert participates in. Those are relationships that he may or may not have. They may or may not be healthy or in a good space. And now that you've gotten your questions asked, now do you even care about me? Or do you just want to get that stuff out of the way and determine if I'm a candidate or not, and then get back to what you really want to talk about, which is what you want to talk about, right?
They're trying to figure out if I fit into the
100%,
picture of their life that they're trying to put together.
That's what it sounds
So
like.
I check the boxes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
yeah.
then it's like, well, where are we now? Like, what are we gonna?
So the counter to that is this, right? Again, I'm a big questions guy. I'm a coach. That's what I do. I ask questions, and so the questions aren't an inquisition, but the questions are intended to gain understanding. It's like data gathering, right? Just like they're doing. They're data gathering by asking those questions, and we can also, all of us should be data gathering, folks. Let me just tell you that. If you're meeting someone new, getting to know them, each of us should be data gathering. And you're not data gathering because you're trying to find holes. You're data gathering to determine if what you desire for your life, if this person could possibly, and what they desire for their lives aligns with yours. It doesn't mean it's a fit. It just means you have a starting point, because you're getting to know the person, they're getting to know you, and you're determining if you're enjoying what you're learning, or if what you're learning is turning you off. The key is, folks, to be thinking, not what they're thinking, but thinking for yourself, right? And what's important to you, and being certain to honor what's important to you, and also to communicate that, right? So when you talk about a person kind of fitting in, it's like, let's have the conversations. I think that when we ask questions, about what's important to you, how do you show, what have you learned? What relationships have you been in, and what have you learned from being in them? What have you learned about yourself? People aren't having those conversations, but they're ready to talk about my career, the next promotion, the next achievement. They want to know about this, but tell me what you've learned about who you are as a person. This is how we get into the EQ side of things. This is how we get into the core of who people are. Not being guarded, but just also assessing if a person is willing to share. Like, yeah, I have learned some things. I realized I could have handled that better. Because you want to know, you want to listen to their answer, because their answer will inform how they think about stuff. If they're the victim, or do they accept responsibility for their parts? Just really quickly, we're going to do a pod on this, but it's coming, folks, I promise. But this is 2 AAAs. In my book, Love Relationships, Sometimes Just Letting Go, we discussed not calling AAA in relationships. And that's don't attack, don't accuse, don't assume. That deals with the emotional intelligence, EQ attributes of relationship management and social awareness, because that's outside of you. Well, I now have another AAA, and that deals with self-management and self-awareness. That is admittance, acknowledgement, and acceptance. That has everything to do with an individual. I admit, I accept, I acknowledge. That's you learning about you. That's me paying attention to me, not and being willing to be honest about it, because I recognize I'm flawed and fallible, right? Just as this person I'm speaking to. My wonder is, are they willing to acknowledge, admit, and accept the same about themselves? Not what you're doing, where you're going, what's your next trip. See what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah, we're gonna do that, guys. Don't worry, it's coming. So, but yeah, Bert, one thing I want to get to before we get out of here is you talked about, because you weren't in a relationship, currently in a relationship, how do you be that example for your children? So was that kind of the ballpark of your question?
Yes, that was, how do I show them what a healthy relationship looks like?
Got you. And you know what? That's a great question. And I love that you are wanting to better understand that for your children, because we get to model relationships no matter. It could be with your parents. It could be with your friends, like the ones that we talked about at the top of the conversation that you value. That's a way to demonstrate what healthy looks like, because you're showing through example or modeling through example, this is how we can be better. This is what you can do. Because they'll retain that. And then in a romantic relationship, it'll be the same. They'll get a chance to see you demonstrate. They will get to see you deal with conflict. They'll see you, how you respond. They will see the example of what works and what doesn't. But it's good for them to see it because it's real life. It doesn't mean that we shelter and say, oh, they don't need to see this. They don't need to know that. No, we had this challenge, that argument that we just had, that discussion. You know, she raised her voice. I raised my voice. They may have overheard the conversation on the phone. But what happens is the agreement is that we can disagree, but do so respectfully. That's part of the modeling. If they see you interacting with another adult that has nothing to do with romance, if they see you, it's a business transaction, they hear you having a conversation with a coworker or colleague, they hear you interacting with someone that you're getting to know, that's how you demonstrate it, because you are self-aware, you manage what you're aware of, you know your inclinations, and those will inform how you show up in those relationships, and that's how you can model and give them the best example.
All right, so on one hand, you've just made me feel better that, all right, it's not as bad as I
sure.
have been thinking it is. But on the other hand, there's still, I think, a piece missing.
Okay.
Because a lot of, the friendships, the family relationships, those are one thing. And I think, it's great that they can see how we respect each other
Sure.
and how we handle disagreements and so forth. But when it comes to dating, those interactions of relationships are a bit different.
Okay.
And so when the kids were young, I definitely kind of kept
sheltered.
I kept it. Actually, I kept it out of their
Okay.
their presence the whole time. They've met a few people
For sure.
that I started to get serious with, and I intentionally made sure that they could see. But now they're older, and there hasn't been anyone that really stuck around for any. Well, I shouldn't say stuck around. There hasn't been anyone that's been around for
sure.
Multiple years.
Okay.
And knowing that, at some point I realized, women are coming kind of in and out. Yeah, there's several months that pass by, but it's still a trend. So I stopped just
exposing them to that.
Stopped exposing them
Sure.
to everything. And now they're teenagers.
Okay.
And they haven't seen anything for a while. And so you mentioned something about it being the real world, or this being the real world. And so my thoughts are, well, should I let them see how this dating thing goes?
Sure.
Let them sort of witness the process of, meet somebody, not the right fit.
Yeah.
Meet somebody else.
Yeah. So that's a good point. That's a very good point. And a very good thought. So I think, it's not so much what I think. In those experiences, I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, do I ensure that this person who I've met has the potential to be around before I expose them to? And then I not only believe they have the potential to be, but we've established something that suggests that they will be. And I have confidence in that. Then I can introduce, maybe that's the time, because otherwise everything else is transient. And how do you know what's real? Or how do you know what matters? Those conversations can be had outside of the person that you're getting to know, explaining it to your children, because because you're teaching them how to date. You're teaching them how to vet potential partners. Yeah. And when it's appropriate for their standards to introduce that person they're getting to know to whomever that matters to them.
I'm batting 100 on failed relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, right?
Well, the point
like
is
we all are.
But we can be better though, right?
We can.
Because
why? The point is.
Yeah, please. I'm sorry.
I guess the point of that is who am I to pick out? How? Of course I'm not. I don't talk to people that I don't think have some sort of potential.
Sure.
Sure. So beyond that, who am I to determine, since my record is so bad, to determine whether or not they're going to be around long enough to warrant,
right. So
the kids.
So the first thing is your future is not predicated on your past. Your past is a reference point at best. So if you hang your hat on what happened in the past, you will doom for the future.
But the best predictor of your future,
it's an indicator,
is the past.
It's an indicator, but not the solution. And all I'm saying is how we think about it, right? If we choose to say, hey, the ways that I've done the way that I've done things in the past haven't yielded success. So what can I change? What can I do differently? If you've done something that isn't working, because you know what that is, because you know what your history was, right? And so what if something changed? What if you did something different? What if we were to take a different approach? It takes time to figure out what that approach is for you. That evolution is what your kids see. It's not all the good stuff. It's not all the bad stuff. It's being human. And they understanding that my dad, he loves me. That much I know. That's not in question. Is my dad perfect? No. You know why? Because my dad told me I'm not perfect. None of us are, because we're humans. So I'm not going to always get it right. He's not going to always get it right. And what makes me love him more is that he's honest about it. He doesn't try to mask and try to pretend he's something he's not, or present something that he isn't. Mm-hmm. That's not who he is. So the authenticity is what we're talking about, right? And if we're willing to be true to ourselves, we can certainly be true to those who are observing. And we can also make better choices, because when we're clear on what we want, we can clearly see when someone else isn't. That's what you're looking for. And so when you talk about how do you get there, it is that potential. It's not just potential. It's like, this is someone I'm enjoying getting to know. Based on actions in time, it feels like they're interested in getting to know me. Not saying we're going to be something, but minimally we have a solid foundation from which we've begun. Unlike in the past where it's been very transient. I like what I see, you like what you see, we connect, but I don't even know if I like you, because all I did was look at your aesthetics. All you did was consider mine. It's so much more than what we can see.
I like to think I'm a little deeper than that, but I hear you. I got you. I see.
Bert, listen, my man.
That's because you know me.
I do. You are much deeper than that.
Oh,
Bert's my man. But listen, man, thank you. Thank you for sharing some time, bro. Thank you for sharing some time.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be one of your first few guests.
Yes,
so
yes, man.
That.
Yeah, listen, folks. Thank you, man. Thank you. Fractured, Not Broken family. Thank you for hanging out with us. It's been a great conversation with my guy, Bertram Mckeithen. Hope you learned some things about him. Hope you learned some things about relationships. We covered what we covered, right? We talked about friendship maintenance. We gave some ideas on it. We talked about relationships. We talked about modeling what that looks like for our children, if you have those, and what that looks like to them and what it could look like and the authenticity that comes with it. I hope that you found this episode helpful. I look forward to getting at you guys and you guys coming to hang out with me again real soon on the next episode. Take good care. Please stay safe. It's your guy, Coach Reg, and I love. I'll see you soon. Take care.